All right, moving on to 4.7. We'll be solving problems modeled with linear functions. And these are real-life problems, and by the end of this, you should be able to define some constraints, and you'll be able to pretty much figure out everything there is about this equation and relate it to real-life situations and all that stuff. All right, so we have a gift card used to buy video games, and the initial value of this gift card is $250, right? And the function of this is $250 minus 15x. It represents the amount of money on the gift card, where V is dollars, right? So this is the amount of dollars left on the gift card, and X is still left on the gift card after purchasing X video games that cost $15 each. Okay, so X is the slope. This is 15. X is number of video games. Videogames, and it is $15 per. Let's write that better. $15 per game. All right, that looks like a slope to me. Okay, so on our axis down here, right? So what is our dependent variable and our independent variable? Right, so our v sub x, also known as y or v sub x, right? Or the money left on the video, or the money left on the video, money left on the card, right, is a function of the number of video games, V, the money left on the, or the number of video games bought, which is X, number of video games bought. Okay, and it started at $250, right? Started at $250. So this is our x-intercept. Started at $250. Okay, so that's where we started with. Okay, so that's that. And let's see. Here we go. And now we have the constraints. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of the constraints here. And let's think about the constraints on the range. Okay, so the constraints on our range, right, our x value constraints. Well, I can't buy negative numbers, so no negative numbers, right? And it looks like, how about our y value? Our y value, oh yeah, and our y value, let's see, our y value is it's not going to be negative, right? Because I'm not going to get negative dollars. Can't be negative, right? And can't be greater than $250, right? So there's that. So it's can't go negative here, so it can't go like, I can't see my camera, so I can't see where I'm going. All right, so it can't be in this region for our y value. It can't be in this region for our x value. So we're only going to be in quadrant 1 right here. That's effectively what our constraints are saying, right? Our constraints are saying we can't be in the quadrant 4, can't be in quadrant 2, and we can't be in quadrant 3. We're only going to be in quadrant 1 right here. Okay, and we're not going to be above 250 either. All right, so there's that. Okay, so, and if, we might actually only, and depending upon how many video games we buy, if we make whatever 250, so if we do, have to calculate when, let's see, what is x if 250 is, so let's see, what is 250 divided by 15 is 16.666. All right, so I can't buy anything. I can't buy a part of a video game, right? So once I do 15 times 16, it's going to give me 240, right? So when x is 16, right? X is going to be less than or equal to 16. Less than or equal to 16. Less than or equal to 16, right? Because if it goes over 16, say I get x is 17. 17 times 250, or times 15, it's going to be greater than $250, and that's going to make my y value negative, or my y value negative, right? So I can't. I'm going to run out of money on that, right? On this function, right? So so you can see how that would go, right? So like this is my function. So up here I'll show you kind of what I'm thinking out loud here, right? So I already know my y-intercept is $250 because when x is 0, right, it's 200. My y, or my v sub x, is 250. So what happens when if I'm like completely out, right? Well, I can't be completely out, right? Because it's going to give me some weird number. But like when this is 16, like 15 times 16 is 240, right? So at 240, when this is 240, when so this will be 10. So this will be like 10 when this is 16, right? So this is 16 and 10, right? So that'll be a point, right? So it's 16 and 10, right? And there won't be, I can't buy another one because that would put me like right here at 17 and -5, and I can't go negative there, right? So because if I made it 17, that would be like 15 times 17 is 55, and if I subtract 250 minus 255, it would give me a -5. So my equation, my line would look like this, effectively, but it's going to stop at my axis. So that's what my line's going to look like, right? But it can't be down here. Okay, so this point doesn't exist. Okay, so what's my my constraints and set builder notation? It's going to be shown like this. All right, so my domain is going to be equal to all values of x such that x is going to be, so I'm going from here, I'm going from 0 to there. So it's, x is going to be 0 greater than or equal to 0, right? X and then to 16, right? And is going to be, it's not going to be all real numbers, right? We're going to say it's integers, going to use integers, and integers I believe is z. Yeah, we're going to call them z's. All that works. It's the integers between 0 and all integers between 0 and 16. Okay, because we're not going to buy a part of a video game. And then our range equals the set of all real numbers between x, or excuse me, y. I'm going to use a different color for this. All right, so my range, this is my range. This is my range. I'm sorry, this is my domain. And then my range will be this. My resulting range, input is domain. My resulting output is my range. Okay, my range is the set of all real numbers of we'll call it v sub x such that 0 less than or equal to v sub x. We'll just call y. Just call it y. You could call it v sub x, but we'll call it y. Y, and then it maxes at 250. Can include those dollars, right? We didn't put the units up there, so we'll keep the units up for that one too. And this can be, well, it can be, I guess you could keep it as, if they're going to charge, it can be all real numbers, I guess. Right, it's because it's, yeah. Technically, it's rounded to the nearest hundredth, but we'll just make it easy and say it's a set of all real numbers. That's fine. So that works enough. That's close enough. They don't really specify in the key. So, and you could truncate it, but we'll just say it's all real numbers. All right. So the slope. What is the slope here? All right. So the slope in the terms of the context. Right, first we'll figure out what the mathematical slope is. The slope is the change in y over the change in x. So our slope goes from 0 to 250. Our slope goes from 0 to 250, so it's 250 divided by, now it's not 15, or it's not 16, it actually goes from, if you want to solve for slope, it's 15, right? It's 15, right? So it's 250 over 15, because that's out of the equation. Okay, so our slope is 250 over 15 is 16.66667, also known as 16 2/3, equals 16 2/3, 16 2/3, right? And this means for every, so you can see, like, for every video game that you buy, every video game bought, UGHT reduces the balance by $16.66, right? Or you can also say, hey, I can only buy 16 games, right? 16 games on this, and I'll have a little bit left over, right? So there's that one. Okay. Use the graph to find the solution of v sub x equals 70. All right, so if this was 70, here we got 70. You can't see the game. All right, so this is 70, and I shoot over to here. How many games had I bought in? It looks like I'm going to be at about 12. I'll be at 12 right there. Okay, if v sub x is 305, right? So find the solution of v sub x is 305. So y is 305 equals mx plus b. Okay, so find the solution of v sub x equals 305. So we're solving for x here. Right, so we gotta put in our stuff for what we know, and this is gonna be up here on our line, so it means we're gonna be up here. Okay, so if that equals 305, that means it's gonna be 250 minus 15x. So we gotta be 305 minus 250, and then divided by 15 negative equals negative 3.3 2/3 games. So is this a viable answer? No, not really. Can't buy negative 3 2/3 games. All right, but if I like recharged my card and I added, some money to it, I could buy 3 2/3 more games, or 3 more games. But I don't think that's the answer they're looking for. Okay, now it's saying, hey, solve this. I did. Oh wait, no, I didn't. All right, so now I have to take this over here, subtract it from there. So I have negative 15x equals 125 minus 250 equals that, divided by 15 negative equals 8.3, so 8 1/3. So explain why the solution does not make sense in this context, right? So why doesn't that make sense in the context of what we're talking about? Because you can't really buy a partial video game, right? I can only buy 8 games, right? So I can't buy 1/3 of that video game, right? That's why this doesn't make sense. How many games could she buy if they had $55 left on the card? So $55 left on the card, and that's what we're doing right here. This is v sub x equals $55. This is what we've been doing this whole time here, right? $55 equals mx plus b. $55 equals our 250 minus 15x. Bring this over here. All right, so 55 minus 250 equals negative 15x. All right, so 55 minus 250 equals divided by 15 negative, and it's 13 games. Okay, now if we wanted to figure out what the x-intercept was, we set y equals 0 equals 250 minus 15x. Right, and we move the 250 to negative 250 equals negative 15x. We divide both sides by negative 15, and that's going to equal x. So 250 negative divided by 15 negative equals 16.2 right? So, which is why I said the maximum you could buy was 16. That's 16 games, because you can't buy that 2/3. Okay, and you can see here my intercept is like a 2/3. At least I tried to make it look like a 2/3. At 16 and 2/3. My line wasn't perfect, right? But anyway, so that is how you kind of like look at all this stuff and see how everything makes sense there. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Moving on to 4.8 here shortly.